Hi folks. I'm going to start to do this video and it's going to start like a weekly overview, but for all intents and purposes, I'm still, as I start this video, in mixed minds with regard to whether I want to combine the weekly overview and the full moon in Aquarius video into one video, or whether that's going to be two different videos that are going to build on each other. If it's two different videos that are going to build each other, I'm going to do the weekly overview today, and I'm going to follow it with the full moon in Aquarius video next. They're going to complement each other. It's going to sort of be like a part one and a part two, and you'll see why. One thing I want to cover, the last video I did was about the Mercury cycle in Leo, but before that I did a video and my cat Valentine featured in that very, very prominently because he was talking and demanding attention. And one of you, or maybe more than one of you, pointed out that because I was trying to think that he wanted me to bring his food bowl upstairs, or then he used the litter box. But what I realized he was doing was he was really wanting attention. And it's not that he wanted to play, but he wanted to hang out. And a couple of you caught on to that. And I have to tell you, you were absolutely right. What happens is that as I head if I'm home in the evenings and it gets to be about 8 p.m., I've noticed cats have their own schedule. I've noticed he gets kind of restless if I'm still working. And what he wants to do is he wants to go to the bedroom, and he's sitting on the bed, and I have a chair next to the bed, and I kind of put up my feet and I read or do whatever it is that I'm doing, and he wants to hang out. And that's our time before I go to bed. And it's, interrupted by doing the chores and cleaning out the litter box and brushing my teeth and, getting ready for bed and all that kind of stuff. But so whoever it was who pointed it out, you were right. I figured it. I was just like, why is he so right? And I was just like, oh, I finally got that it was not so much about the food because he'd been fed and all that kind of stuff. And yes, he used the litter box, but it was more like, why are you wet? Stop working and come and hang out. That's really what it was about. Okay, let's talk about this coming week. We had the new moon in Leo on July 24th, and we had the first quarter moon on August the 1st. And now we are heading towards the full moon on August the 9th. It's really, for me, Pacific time, like roughly 1 a.m., 12:54 a.m. between August 8th and August 9th. So August 9th is, August 9th is a Saturday, so it's Friday night, Saturday early morning for me, Pacific time. So it'll be what it will be for you. And this is a full moon before the next full moon we have after this full moon is going to be an eclipse. As I've mentioned to you, we're in Mercury retrograde, we clear Mercury retrograde, and then within a couple of weeks, we're in eclipse territory, all the way till, the beginning of October. And then we have about a month's break, and then in November, we have Mercury retrograde again. So, and we have Saturn coming back into Pisces on September 1st. So I still will do that second half of this year kind of overview that I've been promising, but that's kind of where this full moon falls. Now, those of you who've been watching my videos know that there's something this could end up being a very happening and a decisive full moon for a lot of people. So we have the full moon on the 9th, and then on the 11th, Mercury goes direct. So when the full moon occurs, Mercury, for all intents and purposes, is pretty darn stationary. And as this week progresses, we are heading towards the full moon and Mercury stationary, going direct. And heading towards the full moon, of course, means that energetically, the pitch, the frequency, the vibration of things will become faster, more intense, busier, crazier. The intensity will increase. That's the word. The intensity will increase. So, and we will likely become more productive. Now, again, those of you who watch my videos know that I always find that energetically, the most productive week is the week after the full moon. The energies are more balanced. As we head towards the full moon, we might be getting a lot done. But then as we get close to the full moon, in this case, full moon and Mercury going direct, it's likely that some of the emotional and intuitive intensity, it's likely that some of the intensity will just sort of get in the way of productivity, or can at least, so that you actually need time to recover from or breathe through the intensity. Just experiment with this for a while. It's like more and more gets piled on to the to-do list. There's more to do, there's more to consider, there's more to think through. But as you head towards the full moon, sort of emotionally, mentally, energetically, so much is going on, so much needs to be, that it actually interferes with the ability to get things done quite as smoothly. Things are getting done more because they have to, rather than through a lens of effectiveness and productivity. And once the full moon occurs and we head into the week after the full moon, the energies are more balanced and we just find that we're able to function more effectively. We're not, so much is energetically just not being thrown towards us or thrown at us. 2 days afterwards, Mercury goes direct. For a lot of us, as we head to this full moon and Mercury going direct, the actual meaning of this Mercury retrograde period since August the 17th, what stays, what goes, which baskets do we put our eggs in, how do we go back to the drawing board and change course, most importantly, what are we learning and what have we learned about, processed, thought through the facts of a situation, so that we understand that something that we thought might be part of a future may not be, and an alternate path needs to be taken. It's not always as dramatic as, now I've said so much about Mercury retrograde over the past 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 videos, I feel. You know, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as, oh my God, it's a life-changing path. Sometimes it's say, oh, I'm moving forward really fast on this path, and Mercury goes, hold on, the direction may be right, but it's not yet. You've still got some past stuff you need to deal with. Sometimes it can be as simple as, oh, this is going really well, this is gathering momentum, this is bound to happen, and Mercury retrograde is, let me just give you a window into what is actually going on. Sometimes, especially when we enter the shadow period of Mercury, starting about June 29th, we already start to become aware of facts or details about a particular situation. And then when Mercury goes retrograde, as I've said, he has a tendency to kind of take out the trash or sort through the situation, and we process it and realize that those things we were intuitively feeling that we're feeling toxic or challenging or problematic, even though they were tied to a direction we thought we were going to go in, take more and more presence through the lens of clarity, and we might decide that we're going to change course. As this week progresses, it's likely that by the time we get to the 7th, actually, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, let's just say from the 6th all the way to the 13th, from this Wednesday to next Wednesday, that we can feel that this idea of which path is my train taking, and which path feels like it has the stronger foundation. And if there's a fork in the road, which one am I going to take? And what am I committing to? What am I leaving behind? Data points and feelings and emotional and intuitive reactions and responses to all of that might increase. There might be a combination of information and our reaction or other people's reaction to that information. My coughing is so much better, truly. It's so annoying that it's still there. I was watching, I was distracting myself with Facebook prank videos, this America's Funniest Home Videos kind of things. And so, of course, laughing kind of increases coughing if you're just recovering from a cough. Anyway, irrespective, as we head towards the 9th and then the 11th, The universe will certainly want us to, and Spirit will certainly want us to separate the wheat from the chaff. The Spirit will certainly, it really is going to become very, very important as we navigate the next 10 days. Very important that we are as present as possible to what it is that Mercury and the full moon and Spirit in the universe are asking us to take. Which path, which choices. And I can't, because I'm not talking to each individual, I can't tell you what that is. Now, for people who have Mercury retrograde in their birth chart, this might feel a little bit different. As I've said, for people who have Mercury retrograde in their birth chart, when Mercury is retrograde, you might find that you are just that much more in sync with the energies of decision-making, goal setting, decisiveness. This is the direction I'm going to go in. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. These are the actions I'm going to take. As opposed to being in a very deliberative frame of mind, which is what tends to happen with Mercury retrograde folks while Mercury is direct in the skies. But for those of us who have Mercury direct in our birth charts, we might find that as the emotional and intuitive pitch increases, as the intensity increases and we get to the full moon, and as we head to Mercury going direct, we may get information, data, choices, disappointments, facts revealing themselves. It may become, for some of us, it's time to make choices. For some of us, it's going to be dealing with information and processing our feelings around it so that we're in a place where we really feel like we end up making those choices as Mercury goes direct and moves forward. As I've said to you, for many of us, those of us who've committed to something while Mercury is retrograde, as we head past the 11th Mercury going direct and towards the 13th, 14th, 15th, the facts or certain details around what we've committed to might change. I'm saying yes to this. I'm provisionally saying yes to this. Mercury goes direct and you realize, oh, we said we were going to start on September the 15th. We're really going to start on September the 22nd because it makes more sense because XYZ. Hopefully it's not a massively disappointing, oh, we thought we were going to hire you as a vice president, but we're going to have to make you a director kind of crapola. As I've said, that's why during Mercury retrograde, it's important to protect yourself. What do we think that helicopter is after? So, as the week progresses, the energy increases, things become chaotic, but things likely will become, for some of us, very magical. And I mean that word from the perspective of us learning things, finding things out, being handed choices, recognizing, having WTF moments, having moments of cognitive confusion. I thought I was doing this. I thought this was supported. So why am I learning this? And this means that I can move forward with this. But what is this? Those types of moments. And they're magical because they feel interventionist. And it does feel like we are co-creating with Spirit, or Spirit is trying to get our attention. What is important is that we are present enough and evolved enough that we start to work with Mercury retrograde energies in such a way that we're able to make the right choices, that we're able to go back to the drawing board. Sometimes, I just saw this quote today on Instagram. I don't know which account I saw it on, but it was something about this idea of, when we're really attached to a certain outcome, or when we're really attached to how things need to be, or where we're going, or what it needs to be. I've got this figured out. I've got this plan. Seriously, that helicopter, which is so far away, just circling and circling and circling. Ridiculous. I must be doing a full moon video. There, peace at last. So many of these astrology videos are turning into Abby cursing at the cat, Abby cursing at a helicopter. Because so much about it is searching for and circling around as if you're going down the drain, that bullseye, that accuracy with regard to coherence in terms of communication, not just coherence, accuracy. Linguistic, verbal accuracy to describe something that kind of is in the realm of feeling and interpretation. So, I personally am looking forward to the next 10 days because I don't mind. I think choices need to be made. I think we need to figure out which direction we're going in. I think Mercury retrograde, and it's like, whatever it is, just let's get to a point so we can start to move forward, Mercury. And let's celebrate your going direct on August the 13th. And by 15, 16, 17, 18, start to gather some momentum. And let's go till November the 20th, or whenever it is that Mercury is going to go retrograde again. November the 9th. November the 9th. So we're going to have, interesting, it's the time between August 11th, September 11th, October 11th, so 3 months, I guess. It's not long. It feels so, the time between this Mercury retrograde and the next Mercury retrograde is so short. September and October, essentially. Well, okay, whatever. I did. So, I don't mind. Now I really look forward to Mercury giving me as much information as Mercury can with regard to what I should be saying yes to and what I should be saying no to. And I have learned the hard way to not get so attached to an outcome or a path or fall so in love with it or be in such a natural realm of something gathering momentum that it's entered a certain fantasy that I kind of want to fulfill so that I get in the way of Mercury doing its job. So when Mercury bursts through an illusion with facts and data and details, and I come crashing to the ground, I have come to respect and welcome and enjoy that and be grateful for it. Because I know that the course correction is necessary, needed, helpful, and that I will be so grateful for it down the line. I've learned to understand this, experience it, trust it. So now I'm like, full moon and Mercury, bring it on. What stays, what leaves, what am I building the next 3 months on so I can gallop forward? I know what it is that I want to do. I know what it is that I work on. I know what my goals are. So let's, as I've said, let Mercury take out the trash. And someone's trash is someone else's treasure. But what is for me? What are the appointments that I need to keep? And as I said, that quote, resistance is really being so, if you're very attached to a particular outcome, then that is resistance. Resistance to life, resistance to flow, resistance to what spirit is bringing you. So just be careful of that. Because I do think from experience that that can be a challenge as you navigate these energies. Now, the Mercury retrograde intensity around technology breakdowns and delays and baggage getting lost and looking at air tickets and reading the wrong time and, you know, crazy calls with customer service and things becoming kind of nuttier. As we get to August 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, you know, expect that to increase. It's when Mercury is going direct and Mercury is going retrograde that we most experience those kinds of Mercury retrograde shenanigans. So, but in the middle of all these communication snafus and the intensity increasing, and the full moon in Aquarius, in and of itself, the full moon is unaspected. So there's really nothing to talk about as far as the full moon is concerned other than it is a full moon and the intensity is going to increase. The thing I do need to say is that it's the month of Leo. Mercury is retrograde in Leo. And if you want to know what I mean by the month in Leo, go back and take a look at the new moon in Leo video that I did a week and a half ago. The transformations video that I did. Actually, do take a look at the transformations part 1 and part 2 videos, because the Mercury retrograde energy, a lot of what I'm saying there, the foundation for it is laid there. But what happens in the house occupied by Leo is where the new moon occurs, creating a 4-week window where we're taking action, we're working with Spirit, and Spirit is bringing us things and developments, and we're bringing that house into alignment. Mercury is retrograde. Mercury came into Leo in June. Mercury came into Leo on the 26th of June. On the 29th of June, it entered the shadow degrees. By the time we get to August the 11th, Mercury will be back to about 3 or 4 degrees of Leo. Back to where it was on June the 29th. So that ground that we covered since June 29th onwards, all the way to July the 18th, has now been covered twice. And after Mercury goes direct, it will be covered for a 3rd time, all the way to August the 25th, when Mercury will leave its shadow degrees. And just before Mercury entered those, of course, now we need the ice cream truck. I'm turning into such a surly curmudgeon. Just before Mercury turned retrograde, just before Mercury entered its shadow degrees, Mercury trined Saturn and Neptune in Aries and opposed Pluto in Aquarius. And we have a full moon in Aquarius. So with all this attention in the Leo part of the chart, by the time you have a full moon in Aquarius, it's as if the Aquarius part of the chart, the opposite house to Leo, the opposite principle of Leo. Always think of opposing houses as the circle where there's a yin and a yang. You cannot have one without the other. The one completes the other thematically. If the second house is your emotional and financial independence, your sense of self-worth, your paycheck, then the 8th house is money and financial obligations and intimacy and codependency with others. If the 1st house is you, the 7th house is people you are contracted with. If the 3rd house is local travel and mundane communication, networking, the 9th house is long distance travel and communication with Spirit. If the 4th house is the most private part of the chart of foundations, home, land, real estate, the 10th house is our public life and reputation. If the 5th house is our solo stardom, us doing what we love and offering it to the world, the 11th house is us doing things for more selfless reasons, for humanitarian activities, or being part of a group, not as a solo player. If the 6th house is the busiest part of the chart, where we are actively taking care of our obligations and responsibilities, the 12th house is the least busy part of the chart, where we're doing as little as possible, and we're giving ourselves a timeout, or the universe gives us a timeout, so that we can reflect on spiritual matters. So when we're working on one part of the seesaw, one house, by the time the full moon occurs, 2 weeks after the new moon has occurred, the opposite house asserts itself, demanding balance. So if the new moon occurred in your 1st house and you're very focused on me and my growth and my new year is starting and what am I doing and what do I want and I'm building my life and I'm so excited the wind is behind my sails, that by the time the full moon happens in the 7th house, a business partner, a personal partner, a spouse, a roommate, someone may say, hold on a second, you have a responsibility towards me. I'm feeling neglected here. We need to take care of certain things. You know, sometimes when I've said when you have a new moon in the 12th house and you have a 4-week period in the 12th house and energetically you're depleted, you could have a full moon in the 6th house, and all of a sudden, in what is supposed to be the least busy month of your year, you could have this pocket of intensity, of busyness around the full moon. So pitch increases, intensity increases, we're getting to the full moon, but there's some sort of interesting theme between getting to this full moon in Aquarius and in the opposite part of the chart where the sun is opposing the moon, we've also got a Mercury retrograde at about 4 degrees, going direct. As this week progresses, the intensity increases in such a way, data and information flows, developments occur, so that by the time we're done with the full moon and Mercury going direct, by Mercury 13, 14, 15, we'll have a clear sense of where we're going. What is incumbent on us is to try and remain as grounded as possible and to try and get these energies to work for our benefit, so that we are putting our eggs in the right basket and we can move them to the right basket, the wrong basket. And if our train is getting ready to move in a certain direction, or if the car was pulled back during Mercury retrograde after Mercury goes direct and the car is going to be released so it can move forward. I'm talking about those toy cars that we used to play with. I certainly used to play with when I was a child, where you pull something back, it winds up, and then you release it and moves forward. Mercury retrograde is a pulling back of it. Then it's making sure when the car moves forward that it's moving forward on a track that has a strong foundation. And it's very likely, as I've said, that you may have entered Mercury going into its shadow degrees and all the way to it going retrograde, thinking the track was going to be going in a certain direction. Then Mercury retrograde happens and says, consider this, and how about this? Consider these details about the track that you were on, and determine whether it's the same track you thought you were going on and whether it still feels the same to you. And how about this as a potential alternative? What feels better, huh? So try not to be too attached to a particular, and just kind of see how Spirit is guiding you and try to make the right choices. So that's one big theme as far as this coming week is concerned. We're heading to the full moon and Mercury being direct, and I expect things to become intense and complicated and exciting. And if we really work with the energies, I expect them to be very clarifying. No matter what the turmoil, I expect that I will roll up my sleeves and will be in communication to try and get clarity where I can, with the understanding that it will take me about 10 days to break through on the other side. And I am looking for as much clarity from the universe or Spirit to say, Abhi, this is for you, and this is not for you. And I'm looking to align with clarity on that as much as possible, with the expectation that there may be yeses and nos coming from other people or from me, or drama or things, you know. Change often has to be, as I've said, there's no progress without conflict. There isn't. Now, even when we consider the energy of Mars, a massive player this week, a massive player. I always say assertive, not aggressive. So yes, there's no progress without conflict, but there's a way in which conflict hopefully can be handled. So there's the likelihood and possible, and change often is accompanied by a kind of, for lack of a better word, violence. But I'm not talking about aggressive violence. I'm just talking about the energy that it takes to disrupt inertia and momentum. So that the right direction can be chosen and energy can be put in the right direction. Now, as I said, Mars is a major player this month, because when we look at this week, on the 6th of August, in 3 days' time, Mars enters Libra. Now, Mars has been in Virgo since June the 17th. So whichever house, just do this as an experiment for me, my friends. This is going to end up being the full moon and the weekly overview video. Consider this. And this should be viewed in conjunction with those 2 transformation videos I did about a week, 10 days ago. I'll put links to them at the end of this video. And after this video, I'll start to focus on doing the sign-specific videos in the membership part of the channel. There are 3 ways to engage with me. Free content I put out on this website, $6.99 a month. The membership part of the channel, where currently I'm putting sign-specific videos. For rising signs, you can watch them for your sun and moon signs. And then there's my email address and information on how to become a member is in the description box below. The email address is there so that if you want a personal reading with me, you can contact me there. Using that email address, and I can send you different options. As an experiment, take a look at your chart and see which house is occupied by Virgo, and understand that Mars was transiting that part of the chart since June the 19th. Wherever Mars is, a lot of our energy goes. And with Mars, there's 2 things that occur. We put energy towards the pursuit of our goals, towards building something, doing something, creating something, hunting, gathering, protecting. And there's an element of boundary setting. So there's pursuing goals and there's setting boundaries. And with Mars, assertive, not aggressive, but there may be a need for certain assertion. When you're hunting, gathering, and when you're protecting what you value, not unusual to end up being in conflict with someone. Even just pursuing goals, pursuing what you desire, can automatically put you in some sort of conflict with people. Just by virtue of the fact that other people may not be moving as fast, may not want to go in the same direction. Alignment is needed. And so energy has to be spent. Trying to enroll people and get them to move in the same direction or at the same pace at which you're trying to get to. Now, Mercury rules Virgo. For me, Virgo is my 2nd house. House of income. Whenever Mercury is retrograde, my finances slow down. But this time around, because Mars has been going through Virgo, my finances have not slowed down. Now, this is what I want you to consider with Mars. A lot of my energy has gone towards income generation. And that's fine, it has shown results. But there have also been expenses. Because I've just been so busy trying to juggle everything and also have been under the weather. So where normally, if my pace was a lot more normal, I would just not be spending that much money on transportation, not be spending so much money on that, just because I would have the time. Because I was doing so much and I was so busy, the money was coming in, but a certain amount was also going. Now, it's been a net benefit and a net blessing. But I want to tell you this because with Mars energy, which is so pivotal, all the aspects till the 11th, with one exception, have to do with Mars. Mars enters Libra on the 6th. On the 8th, Mars trines Uranus and opposes Saturn. On the 9th, the day of the full moon, Mars opposes Neptune. On the 10th, Mars trines Pluto. Uranus, Mars, Pluto, trining each other. Now, when it comes to the full moon, the only Mars aspects, 50% of these Mars aspects are done before the full moon. But we're talking about those over the course of 2 or 3 days before the full moon. The 2 aspects that are really encoded into the full moon are Mars trining Pluto and Mars trining Neptune. But with full moons, as I've told you, it's the one aspect where I look at approaching and separating aspects. Because the moon is getting full, I look at the aspects that are occurring as the moon is getting full. Even though by the time the moon is full, those aspects are completed. Typically, I'm very focused on approaching aspects only when I'm talking about a new moon, for example. If a new moon occurs and certain aspects have been done, for me, those aspects are done. I'm more interested in the aspects that are coming up within a 5-degree orb, because that to me is what is encoded into new moon, and that energy is imprinted into the 4-week month that the new moon creates. With a full moon, I consider the aspects that are occurring both prior to the full moon and even though they're completed by the time the full moon has occurred, if they're really close to that full moon period, I do take notice of them. So all these Mars aspects, trining Uranus, Mars in Libra, trining Uranus in Gemini, opposing Saturn and Neptune in Aries, trining Pluto in Aquarius, where the full moon occurs, are all, as far as I'm concerned, very much part of this full moon energy. And Mars is the male planet, the assertive planet, the testosterone planet, pursuing goals, setting boundaries. The Aries part of the chart, where we have Saturn and Neptune, both of which will be opposed by Mars. And while Mars is doing that, just as a friendly reminder, this helicopter is still friggin' going. Just circling. Ever since we've started to have all these kind of ice raids in Los Angeles, and the sirens and the helicopters, and anyway, crazy times. I mean, from the look of it, it's over downtown, but I did open the window because it was starting to get stuffy and warm. It's kind of warm. It's summer in Los Angeles. And now he's going to circle around and come back. It's just like, articles and people have written about how law enforcement using helicopters over Los Angeles is a kind of intimidation. It's just like, why do you need helicopters? Anyway, whatever. I'm not the expert. So Mars enters Libra, and right after it enters Libra, it trines Uranus, opposes Saturn, opposes Neptune, and then moves towards trining Pluto. And as we're heading to the full moon and Mercury is getting ready to go direct, Mercury is moving towards, this is not going to be exact at all, but Mercury is moving within a 5-degree orb of trining Saturn and Neptune and opposing Pluto, which are aspects that Mercury made when he first entered Leo at the end of June, beginning of July. Yeah, end of June, very beginning of July. Certainly end of June is when I just want to confirm I'm giving you the right information since we're doing this. Yes, Mercury entered Leo on the 26th of June. On the 27th, he trined Saturn. On the 28th, he trined Neptune. On the 29th, he opposed Pluto at the end of June. And we're in that. It's a little bit like Mercury acknowledging that he has come all the way back practically to the beginning of Leo. It's like blowing a kiss to Saturn and Neptune and doffing his hat to Pluto, as if to say, I came into Leo around June the 26th. I entered my shadow degrees on June the 29th. Between that time, I made these 3 important transits. I supported Saturn, encouraging us to take our potential in the Aries part of the chart seriously and not compromising what we were saying yes to in such a way that we were giving ourselves to projects or tasks or goals that took from us but did not give back to us, that did not take our potential seriously. When Neptune entered Aries, middle of March to middle of May, it's very possible that we could have, as I've said to you before, ended up saying yes to things where we were giving of ourselves. And then Saturn came in on May the 20th, and between May the 20th and September 1st said, hold on a second. If you're going to play in the Aries part of the chart, then at least give your energy to those things that are going to grow you, develop you, that are going to make the most of your potential. Don't give to things that are kind of beneath you, that benefit from your involvement but aren't giving you very much back with regard to your own fulfillment, that make you feel a little bit like, why am I depleting myself? Why are other people beneficiaries of my energies? Now, sometimes with Neptune, this is fine. Being charitable, being giving, being generous is Nothing wrong with it. But with Saturn's energy with Neptune, there's a suggestion of being careful of doing that, of ensuring that you're clear about where your boundaries need to be so that you're not feeling pickpocketed from. You're not feeling like someone is building something for them on your foundation and leaving you depleted. And you'll know, because you'll know how it feels. Sometimes giving feels beautiful and wonderful. With Neptune, it can sometimes feel like I should have had firmer boundaries. I've been stolen from. What I was giving was not honored. And the honor doesn't have to be a credit, or the honor doesn't have to be in that every time someone sees you because you're giving them that to bow down, but there can be an acknowledgement. And sometimes when we involve ourselves in places where we're the ones who are coming with the expertise and the experience, or giving of ourselves and our time and our energy, and not really being adequately recognized for it, it can feel like we're being taken from. And Saturn, since May the 20th, has been saying in the Aries part of the chart, and Mercury coming into the Leo part of the chart and trining and supporting Saturn and Neptune. Mars getting ready to be in a place where he is opposing Saturn and Neptune. Pursuing goals and setting boundaries in the Libra part of the chart needs to be done in such a way that it serves this Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Saturn and Neptune are separating, but they're still within the same degree in Aries. They're right next to each other. And Mars opposing, when a faster moving planet like Mars is opposing Saturn and Neptune, the slow moving planets, the faster moving planet has to act in such a way that it serves the slower moving planet. The slower moving planet is like a checkpoint. It says, halt, I'm opposite you, acknowledge me, understand what I'm trying to do for your benefit. I'm not going to let you pass until you serve this higher goal that I am trying to accommodate. Influence, bring, manifest. Mars's oppositions can be characterized with a certain amount of energy, explosiveness, temper, friction, conflict. There's no progress without conflict. Pursue goals, set boundaries, remain grounded, politely, firmly assertive where you need to be. Try not to get triggered. We're heading towards the full moon, and we're heading towards the needle on the compass just spinning around as Mercury goes stationary. And more facts and more details and more data, and what should I do? And oh, I didn't realize this. Oh, this, what do I need to do to get to a place where we are clear so we know where we're moving forward, in which direction we're moving forward, and how we're moving forward in about 10 days' time, and have that secured. The energies may be a little bit easier if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, because you may just be in a place where you can process them more effectively and feel like, I can make these decisions. But if you're Mercury direct in your birth chart, you need to be a little bit more in receptive mode and kind of play with the, I've been saying this stuff all the way, those transformation videos with the new moon. You're trying to get past all this, because even in the Leo part of the chart where the new moon occurred and where Mercury retrograde and where the sun is opposing the moon at the time of this full moon, that Leo part of the chart can't even necessarily move forward in a clear direction until Mercury goes direct and starts to move through direct its shadow degrees for the third and final time. The Leo part of the chart has been in a kind of hiatus going, we were moving forward, but then we had to move backwards, and now we're getting to move forward again. On the 11th, technically, but we'll really be moving forward by the 13th, 14th, 15th of August. And then, until the new moon in Virgo, about 8 or 9 days later, forward movement. And then the new moon occurs in Virgo, and both in the Leo part and the Virgo part of the chart, it's a clear signal. Let's move forward. So Mars entering the Libra part of the chart. Think about the Virgo part of the chart where Mars has been since June the 17th onwards. Think about the Leo part of the chart where Mercury and the Sun are, and the new moon occurred on the 24th of July. And we're in the month of Leo. And remember that Mars has been in and out of Leo, into Leo, then retrograde, but then back into Leo, really since April of this year. Think about Mars going through Leo from the middle of April to June the 17th of this year. And think about what is occurring in the house occupied by Leo right now, with Mercury there, direct, retrograde, getting ready to go direct, the Sun in Leo, the new moon in Leo, Venus getting ready to move into Leo on, I shouldn't say getting ready, but because Venus is still very clearly in Cancer, but Venus getting ready to move, going to move into Leo on August the 25th. Oh, that helicopter is driving me insane. Mars. Don't get triggered. Assertive, not aggressive. Mars, the Sun and Venus and Mercury are starting to get closer and closer to Mars. So whichever house Mars is now traveling, starting with Leo, and then Virgo, and now Libra, those transits are going to start to be in conversation with the Sun and Mercury and Venus, and the months created by the new moons in Mars. If you think about the Leo part of the chart, a lot of the action, the activity occurring in the Leo part of the chart is built upon the pursuit of goals and setting boundaries with Mars over Leo between the middle of April to the middle of June. Starting August 22nd, the Sun will come into Virgo, and the 25th, the Sun will come into Virgo, and we'll have a new moon in Virgo on the 22nd. On September the 2nd, Mercury will come into Virgo. On the 19th, Venus will come into Virgo. On the 21st, we'll have a second new moon, which will be a solar eclipse in Virgo of September. Whatever those transits achieve will be built on Mars going through Virgo between June the 17th and August the 6th. And now Mars enters Libra on the 6th of August, and we put our attention towards pursuing goals and setting boundaries in the Libra part of the chart. And by the time we get to September 18th, when Mercury enters Libra, and the Sun enters Libra on the 22nd, and Venus enters Libra on October 13th, those transits will build on Mars going over Libra from August the 6th to September the 22nd. I know that's a lot of dates. The dates, it's a concept that I just want to, but pursuing goal setting boundaries in the Libra part of the chart, and how that needs to serve Saturn asking you to make more discerning choices that respect your potential in the Aries part of the chart. I did a video yesterday on the Mercury cycle in Leo starting, but the Mercury cycle in Leo start means that the Mercury cycle in Aries ended. We had solar eclipse, we had North Node eclipses in the Aries part of the chart from April 2023, March, April 2023 to the end of the first week of June of this year. Then Neptune entered Aries. Then Saturn entered Aries. The Aries part of the chart has held, the house occupied by Aries has held very important signs about energizing and exciting directions related to our future. So Mercury as we're heading towards this full moon and Mercury going direct, saying, hey, I'm back. Saluting you, blowing a kiss to you, Saturn and Neptune. We're going to take Saturn's desire to ensure that we are really saying yes to things in the Aries part of the chart that meet our potential, and that we don't give of our talents and our skills and our abilities in such a way that we don't get very much in return or we can be taken advantage of. Mars, later this week, opposes both Saturn and Neptune as we head to this full moon. And Mercury going direct. Pursuing goals and setting boundaries in the Libra part of the chart so that it serves Saturn saying, what are the right choices for you, that honor you, that are indicative of this future that I, Spirit, have been beckoning you to follow all the way since March, April of 2023. Don't go off on the wrong track. Be careful of Neptune and Aries. I'm trying to get you to build something in the Aries part of the chart. So what choices are you going to make? But say, well, Mercury retrograde is in Leo. The house where Mercury retrograde is occurring is not the full story. The full story and the most important thing is that Mercury is going retrograde, period, and is going to be revealing things to us so that we can go back to the drawing board as we need to. God knows I've done enough videos on Mercury retrograde, including 2 videos talking about that were like 5 or 6 minutes long recently, that were just about this imagery and trying to make sense of what Mercury retrograde could mean. Then we need to acknowledge and we need to take into account that a retrograde Mercury also doffs his cap to Pluto in Aquarius, and Mars is getting ready to trine Pluto. With Uranus, Mars trining Uranus just before the full moon, Mars trining Pluto after the full moon, and Uranus getting ready to make his first of several trines to Pluto. God, that helicopter. I know, you guys were going to say it with me. Hopefully you can't hear it, or barely hear it. We must be headed to a full moon. Mars trines Uranus, and Uranus moves towards trining Pluto for the first time on September the 19th. Uranus asking you to follow the path, find the community, follow the right path for you, the right people for you, the right projects for you, the right situations for you in the Gemini part of the chart. And in doing that, he supports Pluto loosening what is preventing desired aligned transformation in the Aquarius part of the chart right now, because Pluto till 2042 is going to try and transform the house occupied by Aquarius in your chart where this full moon is happening to your highest benefit. But right now, Pluto is trying to separate you from anything that could potentially hold you back. It's a very powerful full moon Mercury retrograde. Alignment towards which path is right for you. And the thing is, there are oppositions, and oppositions that involve Mars and that involve Pluto always have an intensity to them. Full moons have an intensity to them, but they're kind of crowned by these trines. While Mercury's trine to Saturn and Neptune will not go exact, because Mercury's only going to go as far back as about 4 degrees Leo, and Saturn and Neptune are at 1 degree of Aries, but still creating flow. But Mars in Libra, while he's opposing Saturn and Neptune, trining Pluto, trining Uranus. Whatever you're going to be doing in the Libra part of the chart, pursuing goals and setting boundaries, is trying to pave the way towards the right choice for you as you head towards this full moon and Mercury going direct. It's all about, as I said, taking out the trash, clearing the wheat from the chaff. It is 8:16. My cat just got up from his cat tree, and now he's going to want me to hang out with him. Hi, Valentine. Here he is. Thank you guys for helping me figure out what happens around this time. I know, I'm coming. I'm coming. We're talking about the full moon. It's very important. So, we have a full moon this week. We're heading towards Mercury going direct on the 11th. The intensity increases. Mars enters Libra, and Mars is a massive player this week, trining Uranus, opposing Saturn, opposing Neptune, trining Pluto. Mercury, retrograde, going back to the same degree where he was at on June the 29th, coming within spitting distance of trining Saturn and Neptune and opposing Pluto. You have these slower moving planets, particularly Saturn and Pluto, that are trying to work for our benefit. And we have the planet of communication, cognition, and facts and details and data, Mercury, and the planet of our energy and our action and pursuing what we desire and pursuing our goals and setting boundaries and protecting what we value, Mars, in the mix. And we have the moon getting full so that our emotional and intuitive truth and feelings about certain things and situations, what is right for us. Where are we saying no where we mean yes, yes where we mean no? Where are we people pleasing? Now, depending on where this full moon is occurring, it might be that other people feel like they need to direct some of that energy towards us. So other people may be feeling like it's time for them to voice their emotional and intuitive truth as well. But that does not mean that someone voicing their emotional and intuitive truth, I want you to be part of this and I want you to be involved in this, and what do you mean you have something else you want to do? And that's all fine and good. But if someone is having a full moon moment towards you, you've really got to check in with what is the right path for me. And is this just a reaction of me saying no to someone? Valentine, are you going to settle down, sweetie? Thank you. Someone having a full moon reaction towards us being at the receiving end of a tantrum, either because we're listening and being a witness to someone's emotional and intuitive truth bubbling over, or someone expressing or having a full moon moment towards us, could mean that it's something that's very important to pay attention to because we need to accommodate it, or could mean that we need to pay attention to it, but then, given the astrology of the time, determine, is this a reaction because I'm saying no to something that I know that I need to say no to? All the details and all the facts and all of Mercury retrograde, and Mercury even before Mercury retrograde, you may feel like I've been given signs that I need to get off this horse. So someone may have a full moon moment towards that. And if that is the case, you've still got to figure out, wait a second, I get it, and someone is upset because I'm saying no to something I feel like I need to say no to, and they're having a full moon moment, but it's part of the process of me getting onto the right horse, and them also moving forward in a more aligned direction. I might be thinking, Valentine, God damn it. Sorry, I'm so sorry, you guys. I didn't mean to swear. Wow. Just when I had this happen I just need to start to do these videos early in the day, clearly. Or I just need to find my own peace about riding through Mercury retrograde with stuff like that. It's when I'm in a certain flow and I'm articulating that. Anyway, okay. Where were we? As we get to a place where we are making the right choices, there could be a legitimate someone having a full moon moment. There could be, as we process through getting through the churn of the full moon and Mercury going direct, there's going to be a certain amount of intensity. Because as I said, committing to the right direction may imply change or a disruption of inertia, and that can take a certain energy. And one might say violence, but I'm not referring to aggressive. I'm talking about the energy that it takes to stop the momentum in a certain direction. I'm not talking about aggression. I'm talking about the process of saying yes and no to things with an understanding that that process is stressful for us because we're trying to make the right decisions. Other people may be on the receiving end of those decisions. We may be on the receiving end of those decisions. Some people may be saying yes or no to us. But we're going to go through this chain, and this change and this intensity is going to increase as this week progresses, and we get through the full moon and we get through Mercury going direct to go, now I know which track my train is on. And even if I don't feel like I have all the details, and even if I feel really confused about not understanding how this could possibly be more to my benefit than that shiny thing that I was chasing that was gathering momentum all through April, May, and June, that Mercury kind of let me know that shouldn't be part of my future when it was retrograded through its shadow period. Even though at least I'm clear about which direction I'm moving forward on, and I'm going to start to wait and see. As I've said, it can take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, a year before you look back to the Mercury retrograde and see how it disrupted a certain velocity in a certain direction to go, thank God that happened. And you're not going to force that thing. It will be clear. So in the house occupied by Libra, action being taken, energy, that's where a lot of your energy is going to go towards pursuing goals and setting boundaries and protecting what you value. And it is going to contribute to you making the right choices related to the Aries part of the chart that honor your highest potential. Mysteriously, somewhere between Mars and Libra and Uranus and Gemini, they're going to support Pluto making the right transformations in the Aquarius part of the chart where this full moon is occurring. Full moons in a positive way can also bring culminations and contracts and offers. It can mean departures. It can mean people getting fired. It can mean people getting hired. It can mean something that you're working on reaches and achieves a certain type of culmination energy. Seeds planted 6 months ago, 5, 6, 7 months ago, starting to show harvest. Now, on the 11th, Venus conjuncts Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. And when I look at the aspects that this full moon, Uranus trining Pluto, Venus conjunct Jupiter, Mercury trining Saturn opposing Pluto, and Mercury trining Neptune. These are not exact, but they're within that 5-degree orb. Mars opposing Neptune, Mars trining Pluto. Venus conjuncting Jupiter, which occurs on the 16th of August, I think. 11th of August, the same day that Mercury goes direct. 11th of August, the same day that Mercury goes direct. Conventionally, on the internet, Venus conjuncting Jupiter is supposed to be the luckiest day of the year. Venus conjuncts Jupiter every year. As I've said to you before, do not believe that kind of nonsense. Mercury is going direct on the 11th. For all you know, you're just as likely to misplace your bags and to go to the airport for a 6 a.m. flight only to realize that it's actually leaving at 6 p.m. But Venus, the planet of bounty, day-to-day luck, blessings, relationship and financial opportunities, abundance, flow, conjuncting Jupiter, the planet that most works towards creating beginnings, new beginnings towards our alignment, the right path, the aligned path. Oh, my darlings. Everything headed towards this full moon What is that right direction for you? If there's a fork in the road, if there's 3 options, 2 options, only one option and the other option is no option right now, and Mercury retrograde has brought you some facts or details about the one option you thought you had, which you feel like, oh, I don't know. Just one step at a time this week. Energy will go most into the Libra part of the chart. Put your energy there. Pursue goals, defend boundaries. And as I said, where Mars is, Mars creates gain because we are putting energy there, but Mars can also create damage, expenses, hurt, accidents, injury, bull in the china shop energy. More productively and constructively repair so that something is, it's like breaking through tiles to fix a plumbing problem. So Mars can take a hammer to something. Please be very I'm not, no aggression. You can set boundaries assertively and politely without resorting to any form of overt Mars, martial, warlike violence. Ultimately, the aspects that Mars is making are so constructive and have such potential. Trining Uranus, trining Pluto. We've talked about, my friends, when Mars was retrograde and direct and retrograde, direct and retrograde and direct. The last third of 2024 and first third of 2025, we talked about how Mars trined Saturn and trined Neptune. At that time they were in Pisces, but opposed Pluto 3 times. Mars-Pluto conjunction on February the 14th of 2024. Mars-Pluto squares, Mars-Pluto oppositions, dates to pay attention to. Those are the two planets that are most associated with a certain type of disruption and violence. Mars trining Pluto. We should live for Mars trining Pluto. Our energy and our boundary setting, creating a flow towards Pluto's constructive transformation. Pluto's energies are only challenging and difficult. Valentine is using the litter box. This particular reading has such a resonance with 2 readings ago when he was doing the same stuff, but now I have such, thanks to my own reflecting and your guys' comments, I have such greater clarity around what that poor cat is trying to do. He's basically saying, Daddy, you've been working all day and we've hung out. It is a Sunday, but it is time to pay attention to me. And it's time for hanging out. And I know exactly what he's craving. My feet are going to be on the bed and I'm going to be doing my 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. kind of reading, relaxing, chores and tasks. And it was so sweet after I did the last video where I was like losing my mind because I felt he was being so disruptive and so impatient. I did the video. I went and sat down. I was uploading the video, so I did not have my phone with me. And for an hour, this cat sat by my legs and put his sweet little head on my ankles and went to sleep. And for an hour, I just could not move. I just didn't want to. I was just like, oh, he was like, when are we hanging out? And that is what I'm going to be headed to. God, you guys, I haven't done it. Like, I do some of my videos up over an hour, but I could have split this video into 2. As I said, I could have done the weekly overview that just focused on the Mars transits and the full moon, but it's all tied together. So action, pursuing goals, setting boundaries in the Libra part of the chart, serving Saturn's desire to take our commitment seriously in the Aries part of the chart. All the North Node eclipses, 23, 24, early 25 in Aries. The Mercury cycle in Aries from March of this year, pointing us in a certain direction. Saturn saying, can you take action now to align towards that direction and think about your highest potential, as opposed to just kind of giving off your energies like you were doing in March and April and early May? Mercury going back and saying, got it, Saturn, we're gonna, whatever we're saying yes to now as we head through this week is gonna honor our highest potential in the Aries part of the chart. The only challenge we have with Pluto is if we're holding on to something that Pluto wants us to release because it's not good, right for us, or if somebody else is really holding on to us while Pluto's trying to wrest it away, and we're feeling held on to, but we're having a hard time setting those boundaries. Saturn, Uranus, Pluto. 3 heavy hitters, all with one intention. What is the best, right, most aligned thing for you that will help you lead an aligned and fulfilled life? Mars, our action. Mercury, trying to figure out what's the right path for me. What do I know? What do I not know? What do I know more of now? How can I make these decisions? And it's all heading to choosing the right path and the more aligned path as we head towards this full moon. And then we head towards Mercury going direct. And we get to about Wednesday of next week, let's say 13th, 14th, 15th, and we're like, all right, we're moving forward. And it is not a stress-free process, because yeses will likely be being said. More importantly, no's will most likely be being said. Boundaries may need to be set. Dead horses may need to be gotten off of to get to the right horse for you, that you get on top of by the time you get to the full moon and Mercury going direct, and by the middle of next week. And then it's 3 months of forward movement. But also part of what creates stress around this time is the things that you may have committed to while Mercury was retrograde, as you head towards the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, some of the details around what you said yes to might shift, and that can also create its own stress and frustration. I said yes because you gave me this impression. Now you're saying this. This is what this means. Again, sometimes saying yes to something while Mercury is retrograde and dealing with the fact that the details change does not mean that it will not ultimately be the right decision for you. The thing you really have to be paying attention to is, since Mercury entered his shadow degrees on June the 29th, and especially since Mercury went retrograde on July the 17th, and especially as we get to this full moon and Mercury stationary and going direct till August 11th, 12th, what is Mercury bringing to your attention to say that path that you were galloping on, here's some information about it. My iPhone battery died, so I've had to wait to charge it up. I'm going to have to edit this latter part of this video onto the rest of the video, which was long enough already, and then process it and put it onto YouTube. This whole past few videos have been so Mercury retrograde in terms of the kind of frustration they bring up. And really, I knew that anyway. So to continue that thought, the facts that Mercury is bringing to your attention regarding the path you were galloping on, and also the other developments that Spirit has brought to you since June 29th, but July 17th, and as you had, just factor everything in with regard to what feels is the right thing, the right direction. It's an internal feeling. It's an internal, working with Mercury retrograde energies, I find, is an art, but once you learn to do it, it's almost a kind of a test of our own evolution to know and understand. The first few times we become aware of what Mercury retrograde is doing can be really disappointing, because, as I said, we can be so attached to and excited about the outcome that we thought things were headed towards. And then we realize, oh, these people are not aligned. This is the problem here. This is what's going on. This is what is likely. But then there's also that alternative. You know, I've kind of really said it over and over again. So just stay very vigilant, very patient as this week goes on, next 10 days, and do your best to make the right aligned choices with the understanding that right now you can trust the alignment and your own response to how things have felt related to various options that have been in front of you since June, or been developing since June the 29th. What feels right? Sometimes what feels right may not be what gives the impression that it will look right on a resume. I really don't want to develop this anymore, because you need to figure out those choices. Each of us, when it comes to making choices, life is about choices, and we kind of have to figure out how we're going to make those choices for ourselves and learn how to fall on the proverbial sword as we need to. But Mercury goes retrograde every 3 months, and so it is a skill and an art for those of us who believe in astrology to figure out how to lean into that energy and understand how it is trying to work for our highest benefit. And that is what reaches a kind of culmination or a point as we get to this full moon in Aquarius. And Mercury going direct on the 11th. And somewhere Mars in Libra plays that part. The one final thing I want to say is, remember that the North Node eclipses went through Aries from March, April of 23 to the end of the first week of June of this year. But the South Node eclipses went over Libra, and the South Node and the South Node eclipses are no longer in the house occupied by Libra. But Mars is journeying through Libra with these kind of the trine to Uranus, the trine to Pluto, the opposition to Saturn. There could be links to, you could feel like you're developing, you could feel like you're in familiar territory with where it is that you're pursuing goals and taking action and protecting your boundaries and protecting what you value. Now, the South Node eclipses, of course, are going to be in Virgo, and Mars recently conjuncted the South Node, and there's something we're releasing in the Virgo part of the chart, and that effort is going to start up in earnest at the end of August, but especially the end of September, and take us right towards early March, end of February, early March, I think. And then we have yet another eclipse in Virgo in February 2027. So whatever it is that we're leading into the Pisces part of the chart and releasing in the Virgo part of the chart is going to become very present. We're going to become very conscious of it in about a month and a half's time. And we already have been between January and March of this year and early July of this year. All right, friends, I'm going to leave it at this. This has been this has been an important video. So just, I'm not going to apologize for the length of it. You can break it up. You can listen to it again. There are those true transformation videos that I'll put a link to at the end of this video that are worth one of them was the new moon in Leo video. One of them had to do with Mercury retrograde. All those themes are here for you to look at. I may or may not do another video this week. I mean, this is enough to come back to and enough to digest. I certainly want to do another video looking at the second half of 2025, but I feel like I've shared a lot of the overview already. I mean, Mercury goes direct, then we go into the eclipses, then we have about 4 weeks of relative non-turbulent astrology, except that Saturn is going to be in Pisces from September 1st to February, asking us to clean up the Pisces part of the chart. But then Mercury goes retrograde for the majority of November, and then goes direct again. So When I tell you that, and when I told you that April, May to September of this year is about where we're moving forward, and the first 4 months of this year and the last 4 months of this year are going to be focused on cleaning up the past so we can continue to move forward in that direction, that forward direction that has made its presence felt between April to September of this year, and then we'll start up again February of next year. I would imagine that that is going to be resonating. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Next to the subscribe is a bell icon. When you subscribe, it'll give you the option to click the wiggly bell on top. If you do that, you'll be notified when I do new videos. You can contribute to this channel for free by liking this video or leaving a comment. You can likes and comments give the video greater circulation on YouTube. You can contribute this video financially by using the thanks button underneath this video or donating to the channel, which you can do using the information in the description box below. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to members. After this video, I'm going to start focusing on the full moon videos for the rising signs, which will be the membership part of the chart. Feel free to share this content with others, point others to this content or my channel if you think that they will find this content useful. Now I will go into the slightly time-consuming processing of this video and uploading it, but here it is, folks. I mean, many of you have been wanting me to do new moon and full moon videos a little bit earlier than I normally do them. You got your wish. All right, take care.